A few things before diving in. Thank you so much for joining today in this second info session for the European organizers. So what we are looking for is we're looking for new EIT Climate-KIC partners to collaborate with us on the European ClimAccelerator program. The expression of interest phase for potential ClimAccelerator organizers is open until the 15th of March. So today we're going to delve deeper about what is the program and what we're looking for specifically. The agenda, which we'll be diving in today, as Krista already shared, it will be a short introduction to EIT Climate-KIC, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and where we are active. Then we'll see and talk about a bit about the ClimAccelerator, the insights and specifically the outcomes and how we're going to support potential partners like you. Then the application and procedure for this open call that we have, and then the floor will be yours. So let's start today. Great, thank you, Ran. From in the chat, we see that it's from Climate Launchpad Israel. So I pass it to Morten, which will introduce us what is Climate-KIC and what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandros, and hello and welcome everyone. I see some familiar faces, and we actually have one that we are currently also working with, Alex from Ljubljana. So if you have any questions that I cannot answer, maybe I can ask him for support then. Can we go to the next slides? Or can I do that myself? Okay, so for those of you who are not very familiar with ClimAccelerator, EIT ClimAccelerator, we were established 15 years ago. One of the KICs that have been focusing on creating the innovative solutions in a global scale, but we were as a leading innovative agency. Our goal is then to transform, you could say, the industrial value chains by 2030. Next slide. Within the ClimAccelerator, we have a rather large team. Krista, as introduced, and Alexandros are part of the core team. There are others, Sebastian, that is also focusing within the entrepreneurial space, Mido, that is focusing on the investment supports portfolio. We have Wallace within the gender and DEI. Christian focusing a little bit more on the global south, and then Jasmina with the focus on the climate impact and climate positive startups. Next slide. So system innovation is a very big word for many, and you could say that what we are developing is a new model in order to make sure that we secure innovation, and then that's also catalyzed in order to create the systematic changes. To some extent, we have both the bottom up and the top down, and you could say that within accelerating or ClimAccelerator, you're taking from the bottom up the innovative solutions towards the connection with some of the challenges that we see across the different value chains and sectors. Next slide. But we don't do that alone, and that's also why you've been invited here today, because we believe in the partnerships. We believe working together, that's the only way that we can actually change this. And we do that by, of course, mobilizing the different connections, but also making sure that the skills and capabilities are available for the people in order to shift the mindset and the ways that people are working. Here we have an overview of some of our partners that we're currently working with. We're working at all the different levels from global to down to the corporate part. As you can see at the global scale, we have some of the large organizations. The European part, we have, of course, at the country level, we are very engaged in both in Slovenia and in Ireland and in Germany. We have the subnational ones, the cities as well, and then some of the more known corporates, you could say, that we've been working with for a long time, like Munich Re, Bank of America, Amazon, FedEx, and Bypass. This is just a little bit of the overview of where we are active. From the beginning of this year, as you can see, there's a rather large concentration in Europe, and that's also because we are born as a European innovation agency. However, we are expanding on different areas. So Africa, also an area that we have been focusing within the last few years. Asia, that we also currently have an open call for, and then in Latin America, also slowly with different projects there. So all in all, our goal is to be present in all the areas where we can create a change together with partners. And some of our track record numbers. So we have been working and supporting more than 6,000 startups during our lifetime. And this is again together with partners. We have more or less around more than 320 formal partners, and they've created quite a huge investments to the startups, more than 2.9 billion. And this has created, on general terms, been recognized with more than 10,000 full-time created jobs. We have also created the portfolio of companies that we are supporting on a more long-term basis with what we call the climate safe companies, where we have agreed with now almost 100 companies. So we're digging a little bit deeper into the climate entrepreneurship part. So we're offering on three different verticals. There's the capacity building, where we offer technical support, you could say, to entrepreneurship support organizations that are what we consider our partners, that are then working together with us in terms of accelerating and then also creating an impact locally. There's the venture scaling, where we are here also involved in changing to some extent the mindset, but also catalyzing towards making sure that we have the innovation within the CO2 savings. And then the last part, the innovative clusters. Here we are more specifically constructing ecosystems that are then again supporting both from bottom up and top down in order to create the different connections. Next slide. You will receive the slides afterwards, but this is the way that we are looking at bridging the gap between supply and demand, because it's often here when we are focusing on the very early stage startup in the bottom where we have the supply, and we maybe only have one single startups that need special support and attention in order to accelerate and become an important solution. We then also from the top have the work towards the transformative system opportunities, where we have some of the larger demands. And within this space, we want the startups to grow towards meeting the demand that we see in some of the more important transformative projects that we have. So we are working within the whole spectrum from supporting some of the early stage innovations that can then grow and make a positive impact in this community and society. So this is the way that we look at the world from an entrepreneurial view, where we have the ideation stage with some of the program called climate funds. We have our incubation within the climate launchpad. Then we have the Climate-KIC that you get more information about today, of course. We then also have focus on the investment pipeline, where the safe agreements that I mentioned for the startups, but also we are launching the 1.5 funds for startups. These funds are specifically focused on climate positive startups that we would then fast track, ideally from the programs that we are supporting in the Climate-KIC, towards also receiving funds from 1.5 fund. these funds, they are in the progress of being established, and the expectation is that they will be up and running later this year. So in case of how do we then scale our impacts, as we mentioned, the entrepreneurial support is fundamental here because this is where we see the innovative solutions beginning. But there is, of course, also the middle part, who is then working with us. We were mentioning you as entrepreneurial support organizations, but we also have other organizations like the cities that are tapping in and supporting ecosystems. And then, of course, the funding part that can come from different entities. We see a lot with the larger organizations, governments to some extent. But in general, we have a wide range of opportunities that are then funding when we want to scale the impact that we're creating. And I think I will leave the word to Alexander. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Morten. So now let's dive more into what is like ClimAccelerator, the practical side, and of course how we can apply it. So the first one is the ClimAccelerator. As Morten said, what is the ClimAccelerator? ClimAccelerator is a global accelerator-like program giving startups access to innovate, catalyze, and scales the potential of the climate solutions. Together with solid partners that we have worked in the past, and potential new partners like you, these programs bridge the gap between climate positive ideas and large scale impact. Entrepreneurs of all kinds, ranging from governments, students, citizens, to other like solid corporates, can connect with a global ecosystem of breakthrough solutions in emissions reduction and of course climate adaptation. A few more numbers that from with Morten that already like shared. Based on ClimAccelerator, we have delivered successfully more than 100 programs around the globe. We have supported more than 2,500 startups, which successfully raised more than 3 billion. So why you're doing it? We're doing it with a three-stage model, which is the business model development, customer traction, and investor readiness. The first one, as you can also like read, it's where you engage with the startups to develop their unique selling point and have like a first assessment of the business model. The second stage of the program involves the customer access to market traction and the customer traction. It focuses more on how the startups will get their first customers and how we're going like to validate the business model from the stage one. The second stage, which is also the most important in every startup, is how we're going like to prepare for future investment rounds and scaling. Of course, that always goes aligned like hand by hand with coaching from experts, coaches, and participating in workshops and webinars. It's fun. Thanks. So what it takes like to run a ClimAccelerator. So in order like to deliver successfully ClimAccelerator, there are a few things. The most important one is that integrate the ClimAccelerator branding in your materials in order like to promote the call in your network and in order like to gain from that partnership. Use as much core of the DNA of the ClimAccelerator as possible, and of course, after the agreement, we use like the climate impact tool to select the startups that you want to support. That primarily takes place mostly from going from stage one, as we said, to the second stage. Then, of course, we have like to share the startup and climate impact data. So we make sure that we're working only with startups that they are really innovative and they're not greenwashing. And then, of course, connect your local community to our global network with the bigger network that we are offering. So why you should do it? So the methodology that we're doing and the main key points like for you and the benefits is of course the branding, because the accelerator that we're going to co-deliver becomes part of a bigger story with our brand, with EU flags in order like to promote and gain like more visibility. We are also providing tools, program management tools, handbook, coaching, and mentoring, which in a few slides we will see what module are we also like including. We have the know-how, we have the knowledge of over like 10 plus like years of experience. So I want like to share with you in order to be successful in our program. The climate impact tool, as I said, in order like to work with startups and they have like a pre-assessment of the CO2 impact reduction. And of course, we believe one of the most important aspects is also the community and the network connectivity that we are offering through our channels. The peer-to-peer learning is also extremely important for potential like organizers in order to exchange learning with past and current organizers. Then there is also like the scaling assistant, the last part of what Morten also like presented like before, through the 1.5 pipeline and 1.5 fund. So a bit more because about like the module, what are the modules for you, for entrepreneurship like support organizations as we call them, is you can see like the main topics ranging from gender to systems thinking, some general ISO topics, how to deliver a communication strategy, how to design, plan an accelerator, ML frameworks as well, ending up to a pre-accelerator like handbook for users, which includes like the whole package about delivering an accelerator. Then what's in for startups? The startups gain access, and after of course the successful like selection like from you and from us, that ranging they have access like to topics such as the climate and environment, how they can be more circular, the impact, as we said, the gender mainstreaming and gender balancing, general business, and of course other topics, startup mental health, inclusive and anything like employment for startups, and the rest of topics. So one of the most important aspects that is like included in this program is the climate impact assessment. As I said, the climate impact assessment has like 3 main stages, which is the hypothesis, the second stage, which is the workshop and coaching, and the last one, which is the validation and certificate. As you can see, the climate impact hypothesis is obligatory for each ClimAccelerator, and it's something that we are covering. It is mandatory for the startups to share the climate impact hypothesis, which is a pre-assessment of the CO2 impact, in order like to gain and access to the next stage of the accelerator like program. The climate impact, the second stage, the climate impact coaching validation, are only for the startups that they decide like to sign the climate safe with us. So next we have like the gender mainstreaming. As we said, it's an element that we extremely like take into account, and that is to eliminate gender bias in our selection process. And of course, we have a target that is at least 35% of women-led startups participating in the programs. We really need, and it's like certainly like need to grow this number up to 50%. So for that reason, we have developed the We Clim Equally handbook, which is like a gender smart for climate programs, in order like to promote and in order like to gain access to the gender mainstreaming, and actually like make sure that this is something that you are taking into account. After that, we also have like our specialist here, Krista Beck, which is like the branding and promotion. We have a clear co-branding like approach. It's obligatory like for you, in order like we have a specific digital toolkit, social media and web page templates that you need to integrate before launching a potential call for startups. Our logo, of course, bearing the EU flag, as you can see in the corner. And we also help you to increase in visibility via our channels from LinkedIn, alumni like newsletter, list on program pages. This is something that we are delivering together. So we put like a lot of attention in order like to promoting your call in our channels and in our network. So this was ClimAccelerator in a nutshell. So now let's delve deeper into the application and procedure, because as I said, the expansion of interest is open until the 15th of March. As we discussed like before, we run ClimAccelerators either like in the theme-based or local-based in order to address challenges. For this particular call for expression of interest, we have identified like 2 thematic areas for our partners. The first one is the energy efficiency, where we need like to contribute significantly to a greener and more sustainable future. So that's why we want like to support organizations, we want to support like partners that they want like to work with startups in optimizing energy consumption and fostering sustainable energy practices. Of course, there is a list of other sub-sectors and sub-topics, which if they are related, of course, they're eligible. The second one It's the accelerate the transition towards industrial circularities. We aim to foster these changes and want to foster these circular practices. So we believe that this would be the second theme. Of course, it's an either one of those. So we believe that this is the two challenges that they are like in the most need. So that's why we're looking for partners like to address those. Then we have the organizer criteria, your profiles, in other words. This is the ESOS, as I said earlier, the Entrepreneurship Support Organization, encouraging for two accelerators, incubators, venture builders, hubs, co-working spaces maybe, with innovation work or a combination of those. You have like to be located and incorporated like in one of the EU member states like countries, or the outmost regions or third countries associated to Horizon Europe. The slides will also like we said like with you, so you can see the detailed list of those countries. Then how we're going to select you, because this is a process. We have identified 5 evaluation criteria. The first one is the excellence, meaning that the clarity of your objectives and your ambitions and why you want like to do and deliver like this program. The second one is the impact, the credibility of how you're going like to achieve and how you're going like to pursue this plan, the uniqueness, what is the unique aspect of your program, the Climate-KIC, IIT Climate-KIC portfolio strategic fit, how you fit with our objectives and our recently reformed agenda and also strategy. But the last one, we believe it's the most important one in order like to move to the next steps, which is the financial sustainability. It's the capacity to cover expenses, allocate resources effectively, and demonstrate preparedness for sustainable implementation, but also like delivery of the program. Unfortunately, in that case, we're not providing financial support of the program. So financial sustainability is the alpha and omega of the program. Then we have what we call the revenue share. As you understand, in order like to secure all this support like from you and you secure like all these resources, we have the cost on running those, it's significant. In order like to do that, and only upon the achievement of specific KPIs, a successful completion of predetermined objectives of the program, the ClimAccelerator organizers are obligated to pay a fee of €1,000 in the last quarter of each year. As I said, this is something that it's not like before the application, or it's like it's only after the successful delivery of the program. Of course, we will issue the invoice, and the process is really simple, but it's only upon fulfilling the designated criteria. So some additional information before taking like the next steps. As we said, it's a run a theme or a place-based ClimAccelerator. The timeline are expected. The timeline, which is also an important like element, is that the ClimAccelerator organizers are expected like to run the program and to begin to initiate like with the program before the summer of 2024 and conclude before the end of the year. Of course, we can be a bit flexible if there are specific needs, especially around financial sustainability, but that's up to each particular partner. We want you to support a minimum of 7 startups per program to deliver like climate positive impact, and of course, report this data with us. Then, in order to increase the reach of the ClimAccelerator, we want you also like to promote in your local context, your local ecosystem, partnership, and also, of course, professional and personal networks. All official communication must be also conducted in English. So what are the next steps? The next steps is that, as I said like already like 2 or 3 times, the deadline is the 15th of March. Then the application assessment will be based on the evaluation criteria that I explained before, and it will take approximately 2 weeks in order to select the partners. With the selected partners, they're going to be an introduction call in order like to meet you to get to know you better about how you're going like to do it and what are your plans. But a comprehensive feedback will be sent like to everyone, even if they're not selected. Then after the interviews with the selected partners, there will be 2 onboarding sessions, meaning that how you're going like to get access to all this knowledge and our tools, and of course a welcome package information, which is again on Notion, on our system, and how you're going to obligations that of data sharing, and also how we're going to deliver the program. So this is all it. I hope that this wasn't too much information for you. So the floor is yours. I will also send all the important links in the chat here, meaning that I will send you the official call document, the link that you just saw in your screens right now, and also our emails in case that you want to send and ask something besides or after the session now. So